starts and sits, the quarterbacks and tight ends, and I feel it. The building surge of momentum. It has not been great. But Michael LaFleur, we're starting Lamar Jackson in Week 14, right?
It's very option dependent. Look, I went back and forth Monday on this call more than I have any call this year. Because on one hand, Lamar was unlucky last week, right? Isaiah Likely fumbled a touchdown out of bounds, a weak OPI call that took another touchdown away on Zay Flowers. He has more time this week. He has practiced.
Okay.
But on the other hand, last week was his worst career game EPA-wise in his entire career. And it came against the Bengals defense, who, let's be honest, is not a good defense. So it has me really worried. More than that, it's a tough matchup against the Steelers. The Steelers are in a tough matchup this year, but they've always been a thorn in the side of Lamar Jackson. Less than 15 fantasy points per game against him in his career, and 1 touchdown or fewer in 4 of 6 games. Never ran for one either against them. But what worries me even more than that, less than 20 rush yards per game since returning. I just do not think Lamar Jackson is healthy. So I would sit him if you have one of these quarterbacks: Allen, Dak, Stafford, Hurts, Burrow, Mahomes, Goff, Love, Mayfield. And I think Jacoby Brissett is a safer play, but Lamar brings a higher ceiling. Outside of that, if you don't have one of those names, I'm rolling the dice on Lamar Jackson. And then Justin Herbert. I have him as a sit because he broke his hand last week, so playing on Monday night, that adds a little bit more of a risk there. And then with the O-line banged up, he has scored less than 15 in the last 3, and the Eagles have allowed the second fewest pass touchdowns on the year. So I'm looking to get away from Herbert on Monday night.
Yeah, it makes sense to go with the healthier options, especially when considering a guy who had surgery this week, trying to play on Monday night against the defending Super Bowl champs. Let's go, I guess, to the good side. Which quarterbacks are we actually starting?
One that I mentioned I would play over Lamar Jackson, and that is Jordan Love, who has been featured in the start-sit column more than any quarterback this year. More often, he's been a sit than a start, but I'm really excited for him this week because just like last week, it is a favorable matchup, not in the sense of like the Bears allow a ton of touchdowns, which they do, but it's the way the Bears play defense. They play man and blitz at an above-average rate. Love has by far the best EPA against man. He torched the Lions, who play man more than anyone, last week. He also ranks first in EPA against the blitz, top 2 in passing touchdowns against each of those. And the Bears, well, they've allowed the 4th most touchdown passes. So in the battle for first place, I think Jordan Love is very much so in play for fantasy purposes.
Maybe Matt LaFleur is running to set up the pass in the late season, like it's a season long setting up the pass for the Packers. Let's go to the tight end positions. Which one are we getting in our lineup?
The big fella, Darren Waller. Look, you don't have to listen to his music. You should be playing him in fantasy football, though. He returned last week, and he led the Dolphins in receiving yards. Sure, it was only 47, but he did also just miss a touchdown, which reinforces that he is the clear top red and end zone option for Miami. And it comes at a good time because the Jets have allowed the 3rd most touchdowns to tight ends. They got cooked by Kyle Pitts last week, and Darren Waller has a favorable schedule in the fantasy playoffs. So it's not like he's just a 1-week streamer type of tight end. And then speaking of Kyle Pitts, he went off last week, and he's been the top target for Cousins in each of his starts. If Drake London is out again, and it's looking like he might be, I'd argue that Kyle Pitts is a top 5 tight end play this week because Seattle has struggled against the tight ends all year. 3rd most yards allowed on the year, 2nd most since week 9. And I think this is a game where the Falcons could be playing from behind, which means even more throwing.
Yeah, folks getting exactly probably more than they expected from Kyle Pitts this season, especially late with no Drake London. Which tight end, though, will not be playing for you this weekend?
Look, I don't want to play Justin Herbert with his broken hand. I don't want to play his tight end either. And with Gatson, I'm not sure he is fully healthy either because we saw him leave in week 10 with a knee injury. Since then, in both games he has played, he has scored fewer than 5 fantasy points. But what really worries me is his snaps decreased last week. It was the lowest he's played in a game, I believe, since week 5, and he only saw 2 targets. On top of that, the Eagles have allowed the 2nd fewest yards and just 3 touchdowns to tight ends this year. The only Charger, as of now, we don't know what the running back situation is going to look like. The only one I'm playing with confidence this week is Ladd McConkey.
As we will get a look at the hype train, but before we get to Adam Rank and the hype train, we want to acknowledge a happy birthday. Would have been Ozzy Osbourne's 77th birthday. The music and entertainment industry losing one of the greats. So yeah, Let's honor the man who brought us the crazy train with an edition of the hype train with Adam Ray.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Crazy, and that's how it goes. Millions of fantasy enthusiasts living as foes, but maybe it's not too late to learn how to love as we sit here and deliberate on the crazy hype train as I'm losing this. But listen, Chicago, your Bears are great. You have no fears. You're winning so many games. You have no more tears. We're no longer in the void, and even though the Packers make you paranoid, we have the running back that will get you through the spell. Even if you've been living through heaven and hell, strike up the band and show me DeAndre Swift. All right, well, let's talk about DeAndre Swift right here. Over the last couple of games against the Green Bay Packers, he has had a rushing touchdowns in each of his last 2 games against the team. He had a lot of success against them previously. The Bears have been rushing the ball at a great clip. You've seen over the last couple of weeks, they went out there and they bullied the Philadelphia Eagles, and now they're going to do it against the Packers, who've allowed the 3rd most rushing attempts to running backs over the last month. So make sure DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai are both in your lineup this week. Now, moving on. People look to me and say, who's the running back to play? Which running back do we roll the bones when we're sitting here without Aaron Jones? Well, don't look for me for answers because I don't know. It doesn't matter how you play the game. It's if you win or lose. You can choose. Don't confuse. Go with Jordan Mason this week if he's going to get that opportunity for the Minnesota Vikings. That's right. Things have been a little bit scary for Jordan Mason and the Minnesota Vikings over the last couple of weeks. But whenever he is the starter without Aaron Jones, he has gone out there and dominated, averaging close to 15 fantasy points per game without Aaron Jones. He has 75% of the team's goal line rushes this year, so he is still their goal line back regardless. Washington has allowed the most fantasy points to running backs over the last 4 weeks. We saw what R.J. Harvey was able to do to this team last week on Sunday Night Football. So go out there and get Jordan Mason ready to go in your lineup, especially if Aaron Jones is not going to go this week. And Patrick, that's all I got. Ozzy, this was for you. Thanks for all the decades of entertainment. Appreciate it. Patrick, back to you.
But if you missed it a couple of weeks ago, we were here. We stumbled upon maybe the source of some of Steve's fantasy knowledge and perhaps some of the source of his nefariousness as well. Because he's got the brain frog. Brain frog? The brain frog's name is Larry.
My baby.
Yeah, Larry lives in Steve's head, and he tells him, eat your vegetables, but he doesn't listen to him.
Is this the brain frog right here?
I think that's the brain frog. It's a brain frog.
Yeah, it's a frog that lived in Steve's brain. And so you guys took notice as well. HWView tweeting, the key thing about today's NFL Fantasy Live show was the term brain frog was born. Here's the thing, that one guy, it's not just a term. The brain frog is an actual frog that lives inside of the head of Steve from accounting. And we thought since Steve is so good at hacking the servers and taking fantasy players, why don't we invite Larry to come on our show? So making his Fantasy Live debut, it's Larry, the brain frog. This technology is incredible.
Hello.
Hey, Larry.
Hello.
It's so great to have you on the show. Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us in the swamp in there in Steve's brain?
Oh, it's so nice to be out finally, The mean things this guy does, the way he goes, taking parking spots. Oh my God, I live in a Cybertruck, I don't want to do that. It's embarrassing. Thank you. Thanks for having me, though.
It's nice to know you have to deal with it too. So we wanted to get your thoughts on some fantasy circumstances. The people have reached out, so we're going to hit you up with some tweets. Alvin says it's a must-win game, needs help. Travion Henderson, Rico Dowdle, or Bucky Irving in Week 14?
Travion Henderson, he's been good this season, I told Steve, he didn't want to listen to me. So I'm like, what about Travion Henderson? And over the last week, gotta play him this week. He's so good, Look at him there.
Larry,
what?
He's on bye this week. You can't play Travion this week. He's on bye.
Oh, you know what? Well, listen, do you know you're on television with that sweatshirt? No. Oh, sorry, that was mean.
It's a rough situation. You know, keeping track of buys can be tough, Larry. Let's go to our next question. Comes from Throw It to CD. over there on Twitter. Can I trust Aaron Rodgers this week with the broken hand and messed up nose? What are your thoughts, Larry?
Oh, but have you seen what he's done against the Bears over the entirety of his career? Getting there, doing the discount double check and Soldier Field, the way he owns the Bears. How do you not start him this week against the Bears, Rivalry game,
Larry,
right?
Larry, Aaron Rodgers plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers now. Jordan Love is the Packers quarterback. The Steelers are playing the Ravens. So it's okay. No, we got more questions,
Still
Larry.
a rivalry.
We can get you one. We can get you one. How about this one from Indiana Jones MVP? Who gets the most targets for the Falcons this week? Not sure what to make of the offense. What do you make of it, Larry?
What about Julio Jones, Julio Jones, Hall of Famer, career, Julio Jones has got to be the guy you start here, right? Do you go with anybody else other than Julio Jones,
He hasn't been a Falcon since 2020.
What?
Yeah, Larry, I don't know if this is working out.
What year is this,
It's 2025, Larry. I know things can get weird in there in Steve's brain. But Julio hasn't been on the Falcons in a long time. But Mike says to start Drake London. So, to start Kyle Pitts.
If it's 2025 in there, what is it here, What is it? What year is it there?
Yeah.
Is it here? No, it's 2020 still, Did I get that wrong?
That explains things. It explains things about Steve's perception.